Hello and welcome to Awakened with Lea, the next chapter. I'm your host, Lea, and this show is about bringing to the forefront diverse guests who have experienced adversity and major or minor transitions in life so that we can provide our viewers with courage, confidence, and tangible tools to navigate any challenge in life with the lived experience and wisdom of our guests. Hello and welcome to Awakened with Lea, the next chapter. I'm your host, Lea, and thank you for being here. I am so excited to introduce everybody to Alexandra Figueredo. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Okay, welcome. So Alexandra, you are the founder of Mission-Based Branding Institute, and you're a brand and performance coach. Welcome.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here today, Lea. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, Alexandra, can you share any adversity or challenges that you've experienced in life that deeply shaped who you are today?
Great question. I mean, there's so many things that a lot of us go through a lot of difficulties and challenges in our life, right? But one thing I would say that's most shaped me, especially my career over the last 20 years, is I started off in the corporate world in finance and banking. And I did that because I thought that was the right thing to do, like all the shoulds that I got from my family. And, over the years in the corporate world, it was okay. It was fine. I was comfortable. It was safe. But I got to a point around 2008, 2009, where I knew something was off. And then the financial crisis happened in the world. And I was in banking and I was like, okay, this is really not my thing. And I had been doing a lot of personal development work. And I realized that I wasn't in my mission, I wasn't in my purpose. And so I went through this 2 or 3 year journey trying to figure out what that was. And it was so challenging. I had a lot of pushback from my family and friends who thought I had the perfect job. They're like, you have a great job. I wasn't even fired from the financial industry. I was an asset. They loved me. And I knew in my heart, Lea, that wasn't for me. And so I finally got the courage to resign. It was 2010, the last day of 2010. And I jump into 2011 and I'm co-founding a business with my sisters. It was an online art site. And I was so happy. I was so excited. I'm like, I'm doing what I love. I get to help people. We were working with thousands of artists around the world. And then guess what? My savings completely dwindled down to zero. And that year I was totally broke. So I'm like, okay, I resigned from a financial industry to go into another industry I'm passionate about, but I'm completely broke. I mean, there's something off here. So there was just this continuous journey of trying to figure out, how can I really serve? How can I be in my mission and my passion, my purpose, while also getting compensated, right? Having a rewarding financially career. And it took several years, really, just trying different things, starting my own business and launching it and really getting my message out before I finally was able to get into a 6-figure business where coaching and serving people all around the world while also earning the income that I deserve and that I feel like we all deserve to have a rewarding financially and meaningful career.
Absolutely. And I just want to circle back to what you said initially is you were doing the things that you should be doing based on the influences around you. And I'm sure that you experienced a lot of resistance to not following status quo, especially from the ones closest to you, where they have these beliefs and they're just standing with what they know to be true. And so it's not right or wrong, it's just their truth, and we don't realize that it may not necessarily be our truth. So how did you cope with the resistance to these huge changes that you were about to make?
Mm. Well, it started before I had resigned. I started to really um, do a lot of studying, do a lot of personal development work, getting myself really strong and that my mentally strong for that. I remember the day that I resigned, or that I said I was going to resign, I told my family, and one of my family members cried. They were so distraught that I would leave this job at that time, during that time period. And so I really had to get mentally strong. And one thing I did actually right after I resigned, the first month where I was out in the world, I did hypnosis. I took hypnosis classes and did hypnosis on myself because I knew I needed to get past all of those blocks, all of those saboteurs, as I like to call them, that were standing in my way. Because the big hurdle, resigning, but now I am my own boss. I have my own business and everything falls on me. All the spotlight is on me. So I really had to become mentally strong. And not only hypnosis, I also learned EFT and other holistic modalities and other healing tools to really help me to break through those saboteurs and just be able to share my message and get out there in a bigger way.
Yeah, and that's a great point to make because typically we want instant gratification. We know what we want and we want it now. But what you are explaining here is that you built the foundation, and by building the foundation first and working on the like you said, the mental part of it, which I'm sure there were a lot of beliefs that you needed to break through in order to be able to take those baby steps in moving forward. So it's not a cookie cutter answer. It's a journey, but the willingness to build that foundation in order to gain the confidence and the strength to be able to be your own boss, which comes with a whole other slew of learnings.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. Yes.
what beliefs would you say that you had to break through in order, or challenge, in order to be able to create a new reality for you?
Mm, there's a few, but I'm gonna give you a couple of the main ones I feel that the biggest ones that I had to go through. So in my family, my parents are Cuban. They were born in Cuba and they came over to the United States when they were kids. But they had this strong sense of the right path was get your degree and get a job and just rise up the ladder, right? And so I was successful in that way. And so to my family, I was great, but nobody really in my immediate circle was an entrepreneur. I didn't really have a good role model of who was an entrepreneur. And as you just mentioned a bit ago, being your own boss is very different than having a whole corporation, being one of the bosses within an entire corporation. And so that was a big one for me because I had to basically learn how to become an entrepreneur, how to become my own boss. And a lot of the stuff that comes up, I'm not good enough was a big one for me. What am I doing? Who do I think I am? And then on top of that, it's all of the pressure. I had a lot of pressure from some of it was I was actually hearing, but a lot of it I think I was making up of like the shoulds again of like what I should be. And I think that about halfway over the last 10 years, halfway through, I got to a point where I got so low because I'm like, it's been 5 years and I haven't been able to break through yet. What's happening? And then all of that shame started coming up. I left this career, the lucrative career, and I haven't been able to break through and get to that six figure or plus business that I thought I was going to have right away, and it didn't happen up until then. So I think those were the big ones, the big beliefs that I had to kind of break through. And fortunately, I've been working so much on it over the last decade. And like you said, it's still an evolution. Things are going to pop up always, and you just keep working through it. But I've been able to just come so far over the last decade. So I'm so grateful for all of those learnings and opportunities.
What would you say was the pivotal moment crossing over the other side of the bridge to, I mean, you said 5 years. um, and you never gave up. So it showed that inner strength and willingness within, and resiliency, and that is very crucial for all our viewers to hear, is that it's trusting the process, trusting that guide within, and acknowledging our strength and resilience along the way, and how we can um, be grateful for any type of movement on a daily basis, because it all adds up. So what would you say was that pivotal moment where you just knew you were on the right path and it was going to happen one day?
Mm. I have been learning to trust myself and surrendering.
Oh, I love that.
Trust and surrender. And I'm not sure if an exact moment will come up, but I remember around that 5-year mark where I was just, for a long time, I was just negative in my bank accounts. Like all of my accounts were negative. And I just knew, like I knew that it was going to happen. I have very strong faith. Fortunately, I have very strong faith. And I just had to trust and surrender, because when I was looking at the evidence, whenever, I just trusted and surrendered, I got that client, or I got that call from that right person. So even though I was completely negative, it was like, there was one day I remember being at Starbucks because I couldn't pay my cable bill that particular month. And so I went to Starbucks, got like a 50-cent refill on a coffee, and they had free Wi-Fi. And I remember, no matter what, I knew I didn't have money, but a person who looked like they might have been homeless, or definitely less privileged than I was, came in asking for money, and I'm going through my wallet getting quarters to give to him. So no matter what, it's like that, still knowing that I'm still blessed, I'm still here, I can still make it, and just continuing to trust and continuing to surrender.
So it sounds like you were looking for what's right, not what's wrong, and that helped keep you strong and move forward. Because it's
Yes.
easy to look at what's wrong, but how many of us actually look at what's right in order to be able to be present enough to see opportunities all around us?
Yes. Excellent point. Hmm.
Wow. So, I always say that acceptance plays a huge part in our healing. And part of acceptance to me is once we're aware of those beliefs and we start challenging them, is getting rid of all those stories we've been telling ourselves for years. And that allows us to, because sometimes we're aware of things and we jump right into action, and we don't understand why history keeps repeating itself, and it's not really long-term sustainable change. It's usually short term. And I also often say it's the energy behind our thoughts and emotions. And so that acceptance piece is very crucial for long-term sustainable change. So is there anything you could share with us about the process of figuring out the beliefs that you carried with you to start getting rid of all those stories that you've been telling yourself or that you adopted?
Right. I would say there's you need support, especially no matter where you are, whether you're an entrepreneur. I call them missionpreneurs, mission-driven entrepreneurs, the people that I work with. But no matter if you're an entrepreneur or not, you get to have support. And I see it three ways. One is supporting yourself. And for me, that comes with what I mentioned a minute ago, trusting myself and trusting my intuition. So, my intuition, I do a little process called soul journaling, which I do every day. And I just ask questions, and I trust that I'm getting the right answers. And I have a very strong intuition. So, I trust that my intuition is working and my intuition is giving me the right answers. So, the first is trusting yourself. The second is getting support from an accountability partner or coach. What's important about having that type of accountability is that they're going to see things, your blind spots. They're going to be able to mirror things in you, the good and the not so good, right? Some even like the saboteurs, these challenges, that these blocks that we have, they're going to be able to see that and really reflect that and let us know. Fortunately, or hopefully, you have a good, vulnerable relationship with them that they can tell you that they can honestly give you feedback. So that feedback from a coach or an accountability partner, so important. That's the second thing. And the third is support from a community. So that could be your family, friends, it could be a community you join, or it could be a community you create, right? Like if something doesn't exist, you can jump into a support group and create one. And they'll also reflect back and see things that you don't necessarily know or see. And the person, like your accountability person or coach, is usually very close to you. So they might see things that others don't, but it's great to get that wider view and perspective. So I think getting support from others and from your own guidance and intuition has helped me to see what is holding me back, and then also to get that support to be able to break through.
Those are great pointers, and very, very important to really absorb, because they do work. And I love what you said about accountability partner or a coach, because what I found also is they have the ability to point out in you what you don't see about yourself in the good. A lot of times we're our energy's in a space where we we either don't see the good in ourselves, we don't see how far we've come, we don't acknowledge it, it's hard to take compliments. Those are little clues, but they can point out what we might not see about ourselves. And it's also, they believe in you before you believe in yourself. And just having that support, like you said, is it's there's no word to describe what it can do for us when we are supported by people, that are like-minded. And who better when you're in a safe space to be with somebody who are, if they point out the good and what you did accomplish for that day, as acknowledging, because a lot of times we'll do something and it's like, oh yeah, that was nothing. We don't actually see it like, wow, like, and it's cumulative. So I mean, at the end of the day, every single day, if you're looking at three things that you did, just to be in a space of fulfillment and happiness, then it all adds up. And that's why support is very important. So that it could be brought to us what either we're not willing to see or we just haven't seen. So I love that you brought that to the forefront about being supported. And also, if you don't feel supported, then not to bring yourself down to the energy of victim to our circumstances and hopeless that you'll never find someone that's aligned, because you just put it out to the universe that, this is what I need, and it will come to us. And it's I always say, like, it's moving up the scale of the energy behind our thoughts and emotions. So, when we're starting to build that foundation, we're recognizing that we don't take much action because what's the point? Or you just, it's easier to stay in your comfort zone, and we sort of give our power away to others to make decisions for us, and codependency. And then we move the scale. We start off with then we go to anger and resentment. And the way you were talking is that you've reached a place where not only, it's not a challenge, what's the opportunity here, but you're able to tap into your intuition, and everything seems to work out synchronistically for you, that, you're in the right place at the right time. And by, reaching that point is, like what you said, trusting the process, and just have your desire it substituted for your doubt while you're in the process. So you can actually see that intangible manifested in this physical world as proof, right? But in the meantime, let's go for that feeling. So I love what you said, because it's a very important, point.
There will always be doubts. We'll always have doubts in some capacity, or fear, certainly fear. We'll always be afraid of something. And if that desire is like at least a little bit stronger than the fear, that at least will get us moving forward. That builds momentum and gets us going forward. And you said something a bit ago about others seeing the good. And a lot of times I have conversations all the times with friends and clients who say things like, oh, well, they're talking about something that is part of their genius zone and only they can do, or at least they're one of the very few people. And they completely discount that talent or whatever it is, that gift that they have. And they don't see their own brilliance. And so I think that at least certainly one of my superpowers is being able to see the vision, seeing your vision and seeing your brilliance. And so even if it's not a coach, but it's a friend, an accountability partner, somebody who you trust, who trusts you, that can shine that light on that good, I think that we all need that. We can't be alone. We can't be lone wolves. We can't lone wolf it. We need to be in that community, at least be in relation with others that can help and support. Oprah didn't do it alone, right? She had her best friend and she had her support.
Yeah,
And we all need that.
Yeah, and she had to start somewhere as well.
Absolutely.
And it's tapping into that when we're questioning, who am I? What was I meant to do here? There is always an answer there, and it's like, to your point, reach out to somebody, because it is there. Do not ever believe that you don't have a gift. We all have gifts, and that's what makes us all so unique. We don't need to adopt someone else's, beliefs and how things should be. But having someone point out things that you just were never aware of, all of a sudden, this whole new reality opens up for us. And it's almost like we are just guided into the next steps, right? Now, you also spoke about fear. So how did you break through some of the fear in order to take action?
Well, Lea, this is a daily process for me. And as part of the performance coaching piece is acknowledging and having awareness of the fear, right? So certainly being, open to realizing that and aware of my fears whenever they come up, super important. And some of the things I do, I try to create some physiological or have physiological tools that I can work on right in the moment. So, for example, for public speaking, some of the things that I do and I share with my clients are things like moving the body, dancing, singing, playing some music, right? Gets us like kind of shakes off the jitters, right? And because for me, I'm constantly on stages and I'm constantly talking, and these are things that I need to do. Like, it's become part of my process. So moving is really great. Moving and music is really great. Meditation is another one. Still the mind, right? All of the and it's always all the chatter. It's probably, for me, it's never really gone away. So I continue to have the chatter, but I've been able to still the mind, calm that nervous system, and really just 3 breaths. I always say this, if nothing else, when you're scared, when you're nervous, when you have doubts, just take 3 slow, deep breaths. And somehow there's a reason for it, because it's physiologically, it really does calm the nervous system, but it will always at least calm you enough to like maybe think a little bit differently or open up another opportunity right in the moment. So those are some of the things that I do when fear, when stage fright, when the doubts pop up. Those are the things I do right in the moment.
I love that, because for me also, putting music on and dancing, it shifts the energy instantly. And with the meditation, I do like that you pointed out that there's still chatter there, because a lot of people have come to me and said, well, it doesn't work for me because I might quiet my mind or focus on something else, and then right away I go back to thought. And myself included, I used to think, oh my god, this doesn't work, and I don't know how to do it, and that brought me back to a space of beating myself up. And so what I want to point is there's no right or wrong. The point is, if today, first of all, give it a chance, because sometimes you will sway back and forth, and that's what I noticed. So you'll quiet the mind, and then it jumps back to a thought, and then you go back. So allow yourself that time, that space. So within 10 minutes you'd be amazed at actually how long you were able to quiet your mind. And the more we practice it, the longer we stay in no thought, and we don't jump back into thought. But again, there's no right or wrong. And I just wanted to point that out, because it's so easy to beat ourselves up when we're thinking it's supposed to be like that for 10 minutes. We're supposed to
Mhm.
have no thought. And that's just not reality, and it could be different every single time. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you.
And testing out different things. So meditation works for me, but I believe dancing and like you said, shifting that state for me is works the fastest, right? And doing the like just a few deep breaths. There are certain things that work, and there are certain things that work in different occasions or for different circumstances. So trying out different things and seeing what does work for you. And definitely, like you said, continue to try it, and the practice piece is what's important. If there is some results, if you're getting something, keep, listen to that guidance. If there's something, keep going forward, keep trying, keep testing out different things. And something, well, I'm sure that something will find its way to you that will help you to calm the mind and really get you into that higher vibrational state.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's, you know what, it's just trial and error. It's trial and error. So it's no judgment of what's not working for you, giving everything a chance. But again, as soon as we add judgment to it, and or the right or wrong, good or bad, then we're adding resistance to anything that we'd like to implement. So it's like bringing back that judgment, and just going with, I'm trying this, either it'll work or it won't, but eventually we find something that instantly, you don't even have to like wonder, it's like instantly you just feel that joy, and there you have it, right? And but it's also giving yourself the permission and the space to be able to go through a few things for trial and error, to reach that stage where, wow, I found something that feels so good. And then it just grows from there.
And you said the judgment piece. My gosh, we it's like Judge Judy constantly. And especially I find with women, or as women, we are constantly judging ourselves. And fortunately, we have tools that make us more aware of it, right? Nowadays. However, that brings a lot of times when we're judging ourselves, it brings a shame. And then that causes other things to happen. And like I used to be so afraid of public speaking that it was debilitating for me. And that's part of the reason why I had to figure it out especially when I became an entrepreneur, when I resigned, because I was like, I am now the boss, and I'm going to have the spotlight on me. I got to figure it out. But I had so much shame around it. It was even further debilitating because of the shame that I had of like, well, why I have a master's, and why am I, all of these things, again, back to the shoulds, all of the shoulds. And all of the shoulds continued to, really bring more shame and judgment, self judgment. Nobody else was really judging me, frankly. It was really mostly the self judgment. And so, like you said, just trial and error, seeing what does work, what feels right. Not everything's going to feel good. Not everything's going to work well, or work as you want it to.
And when we're judging, we're focusing on what we're judging as opposed to focusing on what we actually want. So in your case, what you really wanted was to be comfortable with public speaking. But as soon as we add the judgment, which brings the shame and all the shoulds, then that's where our focus is. And that's wherever our focus is, will grow. So it takes, we don't even realize, because it's so autopilot, that we've taken our focus away from, okay, but what can I control to make this a reality, being comfortable in public speaking? And a lot of times we just don't realize that disconnect. We don't even understand what happened because we weren't really aware of what that causes the judgment. Like when we are in judgment, that it causes us to focus on it, but we're not really aware that that our attention was even taken away from it, right? Yeah, so it's and I think that's where a lot of our beliefs play a huge role. So one of the things with all of these beliefs is many people are told, suck it up, don't show any emotion as long as the outside looks good. And I teach the opposite. Lean into your emotions, because that's where all the clues are. That's when you really know what you're thinking. Not only that, but it gives you a second to pause and take that deep breath that you were saying and just really sort of analyze what you may be thinking at that moment without judging, just observing it. And then we are able to respond to a situation as opposed to react to it. And it sounds so simple, yet it's a practice.
Yes. And you mentioned, the sucking it up and not showing emotion, that some people think that that's the right thing to do. And when, as an authentic brand, as an authentic person, we want to be vulnerable. We want to be genuine. And part of that is being able to show emotion, being able to show the fears if something's happening. Even as a coach, I have found that when I share the things that haven't been working, or how I've been able to overcome those things, suddenly others are just, it's much more disarming. They're able to relate. That that's inspiring. So being able to share those vulnerable moments, being able to be vulnerable is inspiring. And it's just, it makes you so much more authentic. And really it makes it just so much more of a joy to be around you, because because there's always then the perfectionism piece. So it's like, you have to be this perfect. And that, again, coming back to judgment and shame, like having to be this perfect person, this nice girl, this perfect whatever it is. And that's just not reality. That's just not real. Yeah. And a lot of times people can see right through that too.
I always say imperfect action. That's the best way to look at it, taking imperfect action, because when you do show your vulnerability, what you're offering to other people is relief. They are so relieved to realize that it's okay to be vulnerable. And just because the outside looks okay, guess what? We're all human. We all, reach challenges and obstacles in our life, but we've filled our basket of coping mechanisms that are healthy coping mechanisms, and we work through them. There's no such thing as any individual not having something that's challenging them, but it's having the willingness and surrendering in order to be able to figure it out. And it's so relieving to know that you're going through it too. So you know what? Wow. I might actually just sit here and listen to what you have to say, because like you said, it all of a sudden, they don't have their guard up, and you become inspiring and empowering to help another individual, who then goes and helps another individual.
Yes, it's so true. It's like paying it forward, the cycle continues,
Wow.
right? And I think it's, this giving permission to others, when you're vulnerable, when you're genuine, when you're real, when you're true to yourself, you give permission to others. So one thing I say, dance your way to abundance, kind of a play on words. But for me, it's like having those shifts in your state gives you a shift in your vibrational frequency, which is more attractive, attracts more. It's good for manifestation all around. And of course, increasing your happiness and joy. But the thing about the permission, I was scared of adding the dancing into my business, because what are people going to think? And what should I be? And I was so serious. My business was so serious. And at one point, I just had to drop that and say, I like to dance. My audience loves it when I dance. My audience loves to dance. So why not just merge the two? And now all of my events include dance.
And that's who you attract, right?
Yes, exactly. And so by me giving myself permission to be me, to be authentically me, I've given other people permission to be who they are. And, sometimes it's, again, we said trial and error. Sometimes it's testing little things to see what is getting closer and closer. But just giving that, being able to be vulnerable and authentic really gives permission for others. So I can't say enough about being as much of your authentic self as you possibly can be.
Yeah. And that is enough. That you are enough just the way you are. And we're doing the best we can with what we know. It doesn't mean that we don't have to allow some awareness into our life to be able to take that inspired action. But again, it comes down to that permission. Yeah. Wow. What a great message. So
yeah, I just thought it's like, wow, just let that in, right? Like, and that's enough, right? You said so beautifully.
yeah, it's and we don't say that enough because we're so busy saying but. It's like yeah, but. And that yeah, but introduces a whole slew of our inner critic and the stories and that, excuses not to move forward. And they're legit excuses. They feel real because of the fear of stepping out of our comfort zone. But we are enough, and there is no yeah but. It's about just allowing ourselves to receive those messages, and we will receive those messages. It's like you said, you weren't sure about the dancing, and when you decided, you felt that within your intuition. You said that it usually kicks in, and not being attached to the outcome of it, it turned out. And with the trial and error part is what I'm talking about. So we're not attached to the outcome. So we're aware that we're trying something. If it doesn't feel aligned, then we just say, okay, on to the next thing. What now? But as soon as we feel aligned with something, and because we didn't, add an expectation with it or a condition with it, it's just like we're free. That's the feeling. It's like this freedom. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. And you said the word alignment and being aligned. That's the reason why I incorporated mission-based branding, because your mission is, ideally, you're in alignment, right? It's in complete alignment with who you are, with your greater vision and purpose, your why, your values. All of that, when it's in alignment, it feels good and it's genuinely and authentically you.
That's right. And like there's no other better feeling or relief when you're able to show up as your authentic self. There's no pressure. There's no it's complete freedom. It's the best feeling ever. And again, this is the whole purpose of others receiving support from our experiences, and not only how we overcame major adversity in our life, but how we continue to overcome challenges, but coming from a space of love, not anger and hopelessness, and not giving our power away. Yeah. So,
Yes.
what would you say? I mean, you've given many great takeaways here, but what would you say was the most significant lesson that you learned that led you to your next chapter?
Hmm. Gosh. I think I sort of already said it about trusting myself, just trusting myself. I had to learn a lot about how to trust myself because I grew up without a lot of boundaries in my family. And so, interestingly, the boundaries and learning how to place boundaries made me a better businesswoman, made me a better friend, a better daughter, a better sister, and the strength I had to build to fully trust myself and not others. You said a minute ago, like giving away your power before I was giving away my power. And building those boundaries, strong boundaries of love, I like to call them boundaries of love, really allowed me to step up in a bigger way and be the better businesswoman, be the better role model, be the better advocate, be the better sister, family member, friend, etc. So I think it's that trusting myself within my boundaries of love.
That's a beautiful message. And I really love how you phrased boundaries of love, because setting boundaries are very uncomfortable when they've never been set before. And there's a lot of resistance from others who really have a lot to say about these new boundaries that we're setting. But when we understand that we are setting boundaries not from an angry or resentful space, because we're living more into the acceptance space, it's boundaries from love. I do believe that that will help us on our journey for those uncomfortable moments where it's not comfortable for others. Oh, that's a good one. I love that
Yes,
message.
100%. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you. Now, that is all the time we have today, but I really thank you for your courage to come here and share so openly with us your personal experiences and all of your wisdom. I am very grateful for that, and I know that our viewers are going to be very grateful as well for all of your takeaways. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Leah, for providing the space for us to speak and share so vulnerably. Thank you.
Thank you. And to all my viewers, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to sharing this space again with you next time.